So we're sticking with the World Bank IMF 2022 spring meetings entering its third day today in Washington, D.C., with fragility and conflict popping up at the various discussions and meetings. Our international correspondent, Adefemi Akinsanya, is on the ground in D.C., and she joins me now for her daily briefing round. Good to see you there. Adefemi, this is your Rise Exchange tonight. What corner of the streets of the World Bank and IMF are you standing right now? It's good to see you.
It's good to be seen, good to hear from you, good to see you both. Yes, well, we're on Pennsylvania Avenue. This is just in front of the International Monetary Fund. And as you're well aware, this is a very big building, many entrances and exits. But just behind me is what is going to be used as the exit point for a lot of the delegates, be they central bankers, ministers of finance, all the like. This is the way that they're going to be using to exit the bank here. And just before we were able to come to you, we did hear and see Christine Lagarde, who is, of course, the governor of the European Central Bank, make her way out of the International Monetary Fund. She was in there for about 5 to 6 hours, of course, participating in meetings as it pertains to looking at the global outlook and seeing ways in which it can trigger a faster recovery. And that is, of course, across the international space. We're also hearing that the governor of the Nigerian Central Bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria, is also around, though we're yet to see him make his way in or out of the building yet. But we are expecting to see the central bank governor a little later on in a separate event this afternoon. And that being said, when we're looking at the global economy, as you're well aware, Bosun, this was going to be a meeting where they're talking about revised downwards trends as it pertains, rather, to the amount of growth coming out of the global economy. And the usual suspect is, of course, the ramifications, the blowback of the Russian invasion in Ukraine and how that's triggered a lot of supply chain difficulties, a lot of trade barriers as it pertains to Russia and countries that had relationships with that country and the ramifications of that. So on the one hand, it wasn't incredibly surprising to know that global trends and global outlooks would be revised downwards in light of what has happened. But there is also some good news. If we look at this as a country, if we focus on Nigeria, Nigeria is among the small group of countries, around 14% of countries, that are going to be expected to make positive growth this year, despite the ramifications and the blowback on the global economy as pertains to the Russian invasion in Ukraine, and also the spilling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nigeria will be posting a level of growth. However, as we know, more than 84% of countries will not be posting any type of positive growth. It will be the complete opposite. Now, those countries, including the United Kingdom, so now the new GDP forecast is around 3.4% as it pertains to global growth, as it pertains to growth in Nigeria. But the prior forecast was just 2.7%. And that shows that there's definitely something that's being done right. And when you're looking at Nigeria, the thing that's being done right is the fact that oil prices have been able to jump up. And Nigerians, by theory, are supposed to be able to capitalize off of that increase in price. But we know that that's not completely the case because of the immense oil theft going on. But in addition to oil prices going up and that helping the Nigerian economy, there's also non-oil sectors, the likes of agriculture and technology. And technology is definitely something that has been dominating meetings today and earlier on and will continue to do so throughout the week. We do know that Rwandan President Paul Kagame will also be talking and holding a meeting as pertains to technology too. So that would give us a bit more insight into how African countries are going to weather this storm and continue on this positive trend of growth.
Yes, Adefemi, thank you very much for some of the meetings you'll be covering despite the restrictions around the indoor meetings, in-person meetings, and those restrictions around the World Bank and the IMF buildings behind you, just around the corner as well. But again, you were on the countries around Ukraine just a few weeks ago. So Ukraine-Russian crisis is dominating discussions now from an economic point of view while the war is ongoing in Russia and in in Ukraine right now by Russian forces, and of course the Russian the pullback from Ukraine. Put what you saw there back then a few weeks ago in and around Ukraine together into this economic and policy meeting discussions being going on. Contextualize it for me.
Thank you very much, Bosun. Well, as you said, we were on ground in the very early days of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and we're on the front lines as it pertains to the humanitarian crisis happening. So for us being across a lot of these countries that have a border with Ukraine, we were in Poland, we were in Slovakia, and we were in Hungary, we were able to see just how difficult this is as it pertains to the people and the refugees fleeing that war. But wider than that, we know that that triggered a huge economic shock throughout the world. Russia does have a very strong presence as it pertains to being an exporter of gas. And we know that that's had, a bit of a geopolitical tensioning between Russia and countries like Germany and France, and finding out whether or not there were going to be strong arms by Russia and Moscow into paying for their gas that they get from Russia in rubles. We know that that's something that many countries fought against, but it does show you just how far the ramifications of this conflict have on the global economy. So yes, when we were on ground covering the war, we knew that this was going to be a very difficult time for millions of people, but it also signposts an opportunity for being able to capitalize off of Russia not being able to fulfill the demand that it needs for many countries. Now, Nigeria, you had a wonderful report, Bosun, on that very topic, Nigeria, that is, being able to capitalize off of a vacuum in the market as it pertains to fertilizers and lots of other different products that Nigeria can invest in and continue producing in order to shift itself in a position where it can continue to move forward in becoming a global power. So that's what we're seeing here. First and foremost, the negative ramifications of that conflict, but also the opportunities for growth for other countries. One thing that many people have learned from this ongoing conflict is that they do not want to be in the pocket of any aggressor. And while they will continue trying to slap sanctions on Russia, they also want to protect themselves as it pertains to the products and the resources that they purchase from that country, which will allow other countries across different parts of the world to capitalize off of this opportunity to move into a market that had previously been dominated by Russia.
For your daily briefing here on Arise News, thank you so much, Adefemi Akinsanya for Arise News in Washington, D.C., covering the World Bank, IMF annual spring meetings.